What if the reason your body isn't changing for the better has nothing to do with cardio, calorie cutting, or willpower? What if fat loss is simply the side effect of restoring your body's health to a stable baseline? Most people try to force weight loss by eating less and moving more. But the body doesn't respond to force. It responds to safety, stability, and consistency. And when you restore those, body fat begins to fall naturally, energy returns, and the aches and pains brought about by inflammation and stiffness vanish. Hello, I'm Shaneal Diiren. I'm a rehab and longevity coach, and over the past 8 years, I've been helping people transform their bodies, move pain-free, and build a life that lasts without sacrificing their career, family, or sanity. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact framework that got me and many others to not only keep the body fat off, but improve their health markers, reverse chronic ailments like insulin resistance, and start living in a way that works with your body and not against it. And stick around for step 5 to get some key insights on how you can actually make this work long-term without an expensive gym membership. So number 1, let's start with tracking. The thing that most people are apprehensive about. All right, before you roll your eyes, hear me out. Tracking isn't about obsessing over the numbers. It isn't even what people would have you believe is a disorder. Quite the contrary. It's about planning and awareness. Imagine if we applied the same scrutiny towards tracking our finances. People who have spreadsheets for their accounts and know where their money is going tend to be financially more frugal and secure compared to someone who has practically forgotten their bank details and makes impulse purchases because it's a flash sale. But when it comes to food that you put into your body or stepping on the scale, suddenly having a game plan sounds laborious and unnecessary. Here's the reality. Most people have no idea how much they're actually eating. They think they're eating healthy because they have a salad for lunch, but then they're also having 3 coffees with cream and sugar, snacking on healthy granola bars, and having a few drinks every other night to unwind. In fact, I've spoken to some of my clients who insist that they don't eat much, but remember that they snack voraciously when they're bored and just can't seem to help themselves or even remember doing so. It kind of almost feels like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation where your alter ego takes over and just sabotages all your progress. Look, when it comes to tracking your food, you don't have to do it forever, just long enough to get an idea of where you are currently without any judgment. If we don't define the problem, we cannot solve. So before we look into tracking, let's look at your biometrics. And you're going to start tracking these things first. Start with your weight. First thing in the morning, after the bathroom, before food or drink. Do it daily, but your goal is to look for weekly trends. Your weight can fluctuate by over a kilogram in a single day, so just keep that in mind. And a pro tip here is to disassociate from the number. Many people fear what they see on the scale and have it dictate their mood for the rest of the day. I would like you to take this moment and consider this as a form of exposure therapy. It's simple data. It'll change for the better, but we must start here. Next up is progress photos. Once every 2 weeks, front, side, back. Same lighting, same time of day, same clothes if you can. Photos don't lie, and it's a great visual gauge when the scale doesn't necessarily reflect that progress. If you have access to a DEXA scan or a body composition scale at home or at your gym, it'll give you more data, such as body fat percentage, visceral fat levels, and muscle mass. Simply put, if you're above 25% body fat as a male and around 30% as a female, you're in obesity territory, and fat loss is a top priority. If you want a simpler test to check your obesity levels, measurements around your waist helps. You need to be under 40 inches for a man or 35 for a woman to be out of the obesity category. Now, how do we track food? Simply put, we're looking at observing how many calories you're consuming on a daily basis. Breaking it down further, we'll observe your macronutrient profile from carbs, fat, and protein to ensure that they're all well balanced. There are many tracking apps available online these days, from Chronometer to MyFitnessPal. I'd recommend getting one of these apps, and if you can, invest in the premium version. For now, your action step is to fill your details into the app and it'll give you your maintenance calories. This is the number of calories you need to stay at your current weight when your lifestyle is factored in. Your first task here is to simply input the foods you already have. Be honest, be specific. I understand that sometimes you don't know how many calories the sauce has, but try your best and find it within the app's database. Chances are you're going to be very shocked with how many calories you have been having, even if you don't even eat that much food. And that's the surprising bit. Once you've done this for 3 days, we can dive into fat loss properly. For this, we need to be in what's known as a caloric deficit. It so happens that a pound of fat is 3,500 calories, meaning if we minus your maintenance calories by 500, we get a daily deficit that allows you to burn a pound of fat per week. Not all macronutrients have the same calories. Carbohydrates, which delivers energy to your body, is 4 calories per gram. Protein, which is responsible for your body's growth and repair, is also about 4 calories per gram. Fats, on the other hand, which help with your hormonal functions, is 9 calories per gram. To craft yourself a muscle-sparing, insulin-regulating diet, follow these rules. For protein, find your goal weight in pounds and aim to have that value or multiply it by 0.8 if you're not used to consuming that much protein just yet. For fats, it's usually between 20 to 25% of your total calories. For most people, that's between about 50 to 80 grams of fat. The balance value you'll fill up with carbohydrates. Carbs will also be the main value we reduce over time, the longer you stay in a caloric deficit. Pro tip, trying to use simple, single ingredient foods makes logging your meals a lot easier and your tracking more accurate. Try this for a week, and maybe you can even develop a recipe rhythm that you can rotate between. Every 2 weeks, change the calories in-app based on your new, hopefully lower weight, and repeat the process. Just note that you don't want to be in a deficit for longer than 4 months. Take a 2-week diet break in between to let your body and mind recover by bumping yourself up to maintenance and go again if you need to. Now, let's look at why most people get stuck with stubborn fat, mid-afternoon crashes, and the feeling that their belly fat isn't going anywhere. After coaching hundreds of people, I can tell you that at least 80% undereat protein and overload on carbs and fats. And this isn't your fault. Most cultures pile the plate with rice, bread, pasta, and a tiny serving of protein as an afterthought. I grew up the same way, huge servings of rice and dal, maybe 2 eggs or a small piece of fish. But here's the thing, protein is a non-negotiable. The word protein comes from the Greek word proteos, meaning of the first order. And that should tell you something about how important it is. So why does it matter? Well, protein actually keeps you full for longer, even more so than carbs and fats. It also protects your muscle while you're in a caloric deficit, trying to lose fat, and it requires more energy to digest, which means you burn more calories just by trying to eat protein. So how much do you need? I've got a simple formula for you. 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, or if you want to keep it stupid simple, aim for 50 grams of protein per meal. That's about 200 grams of cooked chicken breasts, 250 grams of salmon, or about 250 grams of red meat. And when you prioritize protein, something magical happens. You naturally eat less junk because you're actually full. You stop grazing on snacks and your energy and insulin levels stabilize. And here's the kicker. You're probably going to be eating more food because whole food sources of protein come with volume. A massive plate of chicken, veggies, and rice will keep you fuller than a burger and fries would. And it has half the calories. So stop starving yourself. Start feeding your body with what it actually needs. Okay, moving on, let's talk about the one thing no one wants to hear. You can't out-train bad sleep. I learned this the hard way. Back when I was working 3 jobs, I had to be up at 4:45 a.m. most days. I was hitting the gym, eating well enough, but I felt like garbage, emotionally unstable. I was impulsive with food sometimes, and I always dropped the ball at work. I was averaging 6 hours of sleep, staying up late with a drink in hand, scrolling my phone, convincing myself that I needed the downtime. Here's what I didn't realize. Poor sleep keeps cortisol high. High cortisol tells your body you're in danger, so it holds on to fat reserves. Your appetite spikes, your discipline tanks. So it was only after I learned what's called the 10-3-2-1-0 method did I actually get a semblance of control over my sleep. Here's what I'd like you to try. 10 hours before bed, cut out all sources of caffeine. Now, 3 hours before bed is your last big meal. Just stop eating after that. And 2 hours before bed, the last big drink of water. Small glasses and sips are fine after. 1 hour before bed, no screens. Or use blue light blockers or the blue light filters. And 0 hits of the snooze button in the morning. Set a go to bed alarm 1 hour before sleep. That way you know it's time for you to do your sleep routine, whether it's cleaning the kitchen, stretching, talking to your spouse, or reading a book. If you fix sleep, everything gets easier. Your hunger regulates, your energy stabilizes, your workouts feel better, and your mood improves. Sleep is not a luxury. It is a performance enhancer. And if you've been finding this information valuable, it would help this new channel out greatly if you could leave a like and even consider following. It not only tells the algorithm that this video is worth sharing, but it lets me know that this is what seekers of longevity are looking for, and I'll make more. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. All right, let's talk about movement. And no, I'm not gonna tell you to do more cardio. Walking is your anchor habit. If you do nothing else, walk more. Aim for 8,000 steps a day. Morning walks are a big power move here. You get sunlight, mental clarity, and you've won half your daily steps before the day starts with just a 30-minute walk. Walking supports fat loss, recovery, stress management, and mental health. It's one of the closest things we have to an elixir of life. Strength training, on the other hand, is a non-negotiable. Not because you need to look like a bodybuilder, but because muscle protects your metabolism, your posture, your joints, and your independence as you age. You don't need complicated programs. You just need to get strong in the basics. Think about the main movements: squat, hinge, like a deadlift, push. These are things like bench presses or push-ups. Pull, rowing movements to build those big, strong back muscles. Train about 2 to 3 times a week, minimum. Focus on your technique first, then progressively overload, gradually adding weights, reps, and sets over time. And here's the truth. Stop doing random workouts. Stop chasing the latest hit class because it makes you sweat. Sweating doesn't equal results. Structured, routine training does. Your job is to stick to a good program for at least a couple of months, track your progression, and see how you go from there. All right, now for the most important one, the one that I find a lot of people actually skip, and that is your why. Let's be brutally honest here. You know what you need to do. You've heard it all before. Eat better, move more, sleep better. So why don't you just do it? Because motivation is a lie. It gets you to take your first step, but what about the other 99? This is where your why comes in. Not some surface level, I want to lose weight for my holiday nonsense. No, you need to dig deeper. Try the 5 whys exercise. Write down your initial goal. I want to lose fat because. And now ask yourself why, and write that down. And ask why again, and again, 5 more times. Each answer should feel a lot more personal than the last. Somewhere along the way, you'll hit the reason that actually matters. The one that you'll come back to when motivation dips and discipline fails. Take your time here. Discomfort usually means you're close to the truth. And here's the other harsh truth. You don't have to do this alone. Lone wolves die. The pack thrives. I get why you want to do this solo. You're afraid of judgment. You're afraid of failing again. Maybe your friends and family won't fully support you, which sucks. But here's what I've learned. When I started my fitness journey, people doubted me. Teachers thought that my protein powder was steroids. Relatives scoffed at the idea of getting abs. Friends questioned me. And 10 years later, they all come to me for advice. Find your tribe. Find one person, a spouse, a friend, a community member who will back you on this journey. Share your wins with them and stay accountable. Because progress compounds faster when it's shared. This isn't some quick fix. This isn't some sort of 6-week transformation hack. This is a system that you can use and build on for life. And if you do these things, if you actually commit to the boring consistency, you'll get results that last.